Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to our webinar of today, which is Exploring Business Opportunities in Panama. My name is e𝘃𝗽𝗍 and I will be your moderator for today. So today you will get more information about the market overview, unique selling points, also sectors and opportunities, maritime and logistic, exporting services, and also tips for doing business. Just remember, if you have question, just click in the Q&A section. So that's the question and answer section. Maybe if your Zoom meeting is in Dutch, you will see a V and a A, that's for vraag en antwoord. So just send your question in the Q&A section, and at the end of the webinar, we will give you all the answers. And if you want to ask something to, for example, Curaçao Chamber, just write Curaçao Chamber and the question after the organization's name, so we know exactly for who the question is. Okay, so right now I will introduce the people who are going to talk today, and we will start with Mr. Stephen Damiana of Curaçao Chamber.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar on doing business with Panama. My name is Stephen Damiana. I am Investment and Trade Promotion Manager at the Curaçao Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We're excited to have you here with us, and as we explore business opportunities that Panama and Holland House Panama offers for entrepreneurs and businesses alike. Today, our presenters that we have today will share valuable insights into navigating the Panamanian market. But before we get started, I'd like to just remind you that this session is for you as an entrepreneur. Don't hesitate to ask questions during the presentations in the Q&A, but even if you forget and the question comes to you later, don't hesitate to reach out to Holland House Panama or to Curaçao Chamber. And again, your engagement is key to making this a productive experience. If you have any doubts or have any questions or information you would like to have about Panama, again, contact us or contact Holland House Panama. And please take note, because there are a lot of important things coming up, as well as events that you can practically also participate in. So thank you once again, and let's get started.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Damiana. And right now, I will pass the word for Mr. E𝘃𝗽𝗍𝗶, who will give you more information and a presentation.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm going to present about doing business in Panama. So before I start, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share a screen with the presentation. So thank you very much. So how I'm going to structure my presentation is first I'm going to give a very brief introduction of Panama. Then I'm going to follow it up with the unique selling points of Panama as a business destination. Do a little comparative study where I'm going to share some statistics and some figures on Panama, and then share with you some practical tips. Next slide, please. So Panama, to start with, is one of the most dynamic economies in the Latin American region. Since 1990, the economy has grown every year but one. It has contracted only once, and the growth average since then has been 5.6%, which is comparable to the growth rate of the East Asian tigers decades in the past. From 2010 on to 2020, the growth rate has been 6.3%, and it shows that it's a very dynamic economy. According to the World Bank Ease of Doing Business report, which measures how easy it's for the private sector to operate in the country ranks 86 in the world. In the Latin American region, that makes it the sixth most. It ranks at 6 in total. And the other countries in Latin America that come first are Peru, Costa Rica, Colombia, Mexico, and Chile. The expanded Panama Canal, that was a major infrastructure project that finished in 2016, has made the Panamanian economy very attractive, as it has given more more importance, but also make Panama's logistic platform even more competitive than before, which is complemented by ports, airports, multimodal system. And the Tocumen International Airport that I'm going to talk briefly is also very convenient for you to set up business in Panama because it offers destinations all over Central America, North America, and also Europe. Next slide, please. So the first picture that I'm showing is of the expanded Panama Canal. That is one of the new locks that was built from 2007 to 2016. The Panama Canal is around 5 to 6% of global trade passes through the Panama Canal, and it's managed by the Panama Canal Authority, which is a semi-autonomous government institution. It's also very successful, which manages the canal very successfully. They have operating profits of 4.9 billion. And the construction of the Panama Canal and the expansion attests to the importance of Panama as a trade hub, because the narrowest point of the isthmus that separates the Caribbean Sea from the Pacific is 80 kilometers. Next slide. So the picture that I have here is of the Tocumen International Airport. This is the second terminal, which is the terminal for the flag carrier Copa Airlines. Copa has more than 90 destinations in 37 countries, in North, Central, South America, and also the Caribbean. It has around 10 or 11 weekly flights to Curacao, and also the airport services destinations in Europe and Istanbul, Europe and Asia. And in one figure that strikes me of how important Copa and Tocumen is important as a regional hub is that it services more than 19 million passengers per year, and the population of Panama is 4.5 million. Next slide. So the picture that I have here is of the Colón Free Trade Zone. The Zona Libre de Colón is the country's largest free trade zone, and it also happens to be the largest in the Western Hemisphere and the second largest in the world, just after the one in Hong Kong. And the free trade zone was built in the 1940s and definitely benefits from the operations of the Panama Canal. And it's also used significantly by countries and neighboring countries. So the countries that import into the free trade zone are the top countries that import into a free trade zone are China, United States, Spain, and re-export mostly focuses around the Central America Caribbean region, such as Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Venezuela, and that also could be something that is very useful or something to take into consideration for the Caribbean islands. And in total, there are around 3,000 companies that operate in the free trade zone, and export volume of the free trade zone nears around 30 billion a year. And next slide, please. So continuing on the discussion of free trade zone that I already mentioned, that Colón Free Trade Zone as the biggest one. There are other important free trade zones in the country. The Panama Pacifico, which is a free trade zone that was built or started operating in 2009, is a combination of residential, commercial, and industrial use. The picture that shows on this slide is a picture of Panama Pacifico. And Panama Pacifico, one of the selling points that they have is that they have an international airport. So, for example, DHL, they have operations there, including other big multinationals such as H&M, 3M, and Dell. And another free trade zone that is worth mentioning is the City of Knowledge, or 𝗖𝗽𝗻𝗀. Both Panama Pacifico and 𝗖𝗽𝗻𝗀 are located near Panama City. They're both were former military bases, and one difference between 𝗖𝗽𝗻𝗀 and Panama Pacifico is that in 𝗖𝗽𝗻𝗀, or City of Knowledge, a lot of the companies that are there are also international organizations such as UN agencies. And there are also a couple of Dutch companies that are in City of Knowledge. And the reason I make this comparison is the fact that every free trade zone in Panama, they have different tax regime, migratory, labor incentives. And it's something, if you're thinking of doing business in Panama or setting up your company in Panama, to look into those, because those the benefits and incentives change between each free trade zone and like can be adjusted to like your needs. And besides those three that I mentioned, there are in total like 15 active free trade zone and export processing zone. Not all of them are in Panama City or near Panama City, but others are, such as Panama Park, which is developed near the Tucumán International Airport. Next slide. So the picture that I have here is of the Gunayala Archipelago. The Gunayala Archipelago is located in the Caribbean Sea, next to the Colombian border, and it's an archipelago of around 360 islands. It's one of Panama's main touristic attraction and a huge potential for ethnotourism in the country. Next slide. So here I'm gonna start comparing or giving some like facts and figures about Panama. And the first one is GDP growth for Panama from 2018 on 2023. And Panama is the red line on this graph. As you can see, Panama, with the exception of 2020, which was the year that the economy contracted and the only one since 1990, the economy has been growing either among the fastest or the fastest in the region. And in 2020, the contraction was severe because the lockdown measures that they implemented in the country were very harsh. And then the growth rate that is observed in 2021 also reflects that rebound effect that occurred after the deep contraction in 2020. And another important thing to mention of subsectors in Panama include the construction, wholesale and retail trade, and those related to trade-related services, and also financial sectors such as financial intermediation. Next slide. The graph that I'm showing you here is of the World Bank Logistic Performance Index. The Logistic Performance Index is an international ranking that the World Bank does that measures how efficient it is to move goods within a country. And Panama, even though, like as you can see from the graph, it has declined somewhat from 2016 to 2023. It remains among the selected countries, the top in the region. And also maybe like the decline looks a little bit bigger because of the axis used in this graph. But in any case, the country, logistically speaking, like performed very well. And the country scores high when it comes to the indicators of timeliness and infrastructure. And what drags down the result is tracking and tracing. Next slide. And related to logistics, and this is a map that shows Panama's importance as a regional trade hub and also as a maritime hub. And that's because of the Panama Canal and all the industry that have developed or as a result of the Panama Canal. Around 6% of global trade goes through Panama. That translates to 36 daily transit and around 12,000 daily transit of the Panama Canal. And as a result of that, Panama has one of the biggest port system in Latin America and the Caribbean. The biggest port in Panama, Manzanillo International Terminal, located on the Atlantic Ocean, is the second largest in Latin America. And together with the ports that are located on the Pacific side and also on the Atlantic side of the Panama Canal, such as MIT, Balboa, and the Pacific, Cristóbal and 𝗖𝗍, together make one of the largest port systems in Latin America. Next slide, please. And here, there are a couple things on this image that I want to highlight that it kind of like puts the focus on the shipping routes in the Central American Caribbean region. And as you can see, that one thing that makes Panama very interesting is that there are shipping routes as opposed to the other Central American countries that go to the Pacific Ocean or to other ports in the Pacific Ocean. The other thing, the concentration of red dots also indicate the clusterization of Panamanian ports and how efficient it is to do business or to move goods from one ocean to the other. And that's also something if, for example, if you're interested in doing business with countries in Middle America, Central America, that have like operation on the Pacific ports on the Pacific Ocean, like Panama is also very good for that. Next slide. So this bar graph is from the Ease of Doing Business that I talked at the very beginning of this presentation, and this is a breakdown of the result. And As I said, Panama ranks 86 in the world, and the indicators that Panama does fairly well, or does well, are starting business, obtaining credit, and trading across border. That also relates to the logistics that we just discussed. The indicator, however, is tracked down by the indicators of paying taxes, solving insolvencies, and enforcing contracts, which I will be discussing very soon. Next slide. So the picture that I have here is a typical landscape on the Chiriquí province. Chiriquí is a province that borders Costa Rica, and it's also a touristic hotspot, not only for hiking, nature, but also agrotourism. For example, Panama specialty coffee, geisha coffee, is produced in this region, which happens to be the specialty coffee that is auctioned for the highest price in the world. And as San Blas, it also offers important opportunities for tourism, but also for agrotourism, agrotechnology. Next slide, please. So talking a little bit more on the practical side of things and of the benefits of doing business in Panama, one of the first ones that comes to mind is a territorial tax system. That means a company only pay taxes on income generated in the country. Another benefit of Panama is that the country has different sets of laws and incentives that are meant to attract foreign businesses into the country, and two of them that are important to mention are SEM and law SEM and ley EMA or law EMA. SEM was implemented in 2007, and it was meant to attract multinational corporations into the country, and they've been very successful at that. For example, some of the multinationals that I mentioned, such as DHL, also Heineken, and sorry, not Heineken, Philips also came to Panama with that law, and then law EMA is intended to attract companies that do some light manufacturing. And the first company that came to Panama under that law was E𝘅𝗽𝗍𝗺, a Dutch company that specializes in boat repair. And what is important for this is that there are different laws and incentives that are meant to attract different types of companies. So that's something to keep in mind. Another good thing is that the Panamanian financial sector is large and most developed in the region. Liquidity in the banking sector is very high, and also the stress tests that they do to different banks show that the banks are in good health. Another good thing about Panama's finances is that since 1904, the currency has been pegged to the dollar at a 1-to-1 rate. So de facto, it's a dollarized economy that gives the country significant financial stability. It also means that there are no currency depreciations, there are no exchange rate fluctuations, which are things that you have to do in other parts of or in other countries of Latin America that fortunately Panama doesn't have to deal with neither, and also keeps inflation under control. Another important thing is that Panama had general elections in May 2024. The election happened peacefully. The results were respected by all political parties almost immediately after the election finished. But most importantly, the government that was elected has been a government that wants to govern with the private sector, that the cabinet is composed by many members of the private sector. So their pro-business and private sector credentials are very strong. So they want to work with the private sector. So that's something to keep in mind. And the other thing is that Panama is also, relatively speaking, for Latin American standards, very safe in the sense that you can go running, you can go jogging. You don't discussions on or the fact that like in some countries of Latin America, some people have to go in cars that are that are either that have like bodyguards or need like extra security in their cars. Like that doesn't happen in Panama. You can live a very fairly normal life, and that's something that you don't have to worry about, and that's something that makes living in Panama also very practical and convenient. Next slide, please. And now looking at some of the challenges, and now coming back to also the result of the Global Competitive Index, is that one is the inefficient government bureaucracy. And there are many different reasons as to why this is the case. One of the main reasons is that Panamanian bureaucracy is very politicized. So after every general election every 5 years, a large percentage of the civil workforce leave. So every new government, there are new people that come in that don't know how the processes or things work, and their learning curve. So things slow down as a result of that. Another issue that needs to be raised is the issue of corruption. The Transparency International, the NGO that measures corruption worldwide, ranks Panama as 108th out of 180 countries in terms of corruption. And although this only measures corruption in the public sector, the corruption in the private sector is also an issue. The other one is the poorly educated labor force. According to international rankings, such as the OECD PISA rankings that measures student performance in mathematics, science, and reading, they ranks Panama as a country that has serious deficiency in the education system. Out of 81 countries ranked, Panama ranks around 65, 70 out of 81. And that's an issue. For example, if you have businesses that require like highly skilled labor in Panama, it's a challenge like hiring skilled labor. And related to the inadequately educated workforce are the restrictive labor regulation. Panama has imposes some restriction on certain jobs and on certain industries that can only be carried out by Panamanians. So that's also an issue. If, for example, you would think that you can overcome the inadequately educated workforce by hiring foreigners to carry out that job, it's unfortunately not that easy. But fortunately, as I mentioned before, with the free trade zones, if they have different like labor migratory regimes, you can overcome those challenges through registering one of the free trade zones. Next slide, please. And then on how to overcome those challenges, one of the first one is working with a local partner. And there are different reasons for that. One is like, for example, as I mentioned, that the inefficient government bureaucracy makes it very difficult in order to get things done with the government. But a local partner that has been in the sector, that has been in the business for years, know exactly how the processes are done, and he can guide you. Also, Panama is very personalistic in the sense that personal relations are very important, and that's what normally opens doors to meeting the right people, getting business deals. So like working with a local partner is a great way to like open you doors and like introduce you to other people, and that's always very useful. And for that reason, that's why we encourage face-to-face contact. And we say, like, for example, that it's important to attend trade fairs, lectures, business events, meetings, lunches, so people get to know you. People know who you are, can put a face to you, and also you build trust through those encounters. And the fact that a lot is done at a personal level, or like personal relations are so important, one thing that we do suggest is to do due diligence. The reason why we say this is because Panama, as a trade hub and also as a hub in different sectors, it attracts a lot of like listed but also illicit goods, trade, and everything that is associated with it. So it's important that you know who you're dealing with and who you are working with. But for that reason, we suggest to contact the Embassy of the Netherlands and Holland House, because we can definitely give you some guidance on that. Panama, at the end of the day, it's a small country. It's only 4.5 million inhabitants. So there's a probability that either the Embassy or Holland House or people that we know have worked with your potential business partner. Next slide, please. And then of the support provided by the embassy. In the picture on the right, you can see part of the embassy team, the ambassador, the deputy ambassador, and the senior trade officer, all on the right. And among the services that we provide market studies and market information of the country. For example, we have different reports on different sectors, such as maritime imports, water, and also waste management and circular economy. We do trade promotion activities such as trade missions, such as this webinar that we're right now in. Also panels, workshops, roundtables with Dutch companies. Also Dutch companies that are in a tough situation, whether they're struggling on getting a permit or they're a bit lost in like the bureaucracy. We can definitely help them with what we call troubleshooting, and that's some of the services that we do, and it's been very efficient, effective. Then also, as the embassy, we manage the government-to-government relationship between the Kingdom of the Netherlands and the Panamanian government, and we also facilitate business-to-government deals. And finally, like among the top services, also like advice on financial instruments that are offered by the Netherlands. Next slide, please. And just to finish off, attesting to everything that I said of Panama as a business hub, here's a list of different companies that have operations in Panama. It includes some of the usual suspects, such as Philips, Heineken, and also smaller companies and everything in between. Most of the companies that operate in the country are located in the maritime logistics sector that also point to the economic profile of the country, but also to water and sustainability. And that's it for my part. And then the final slide just have the contact information of the embassy if you have any other question or concern.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jean-Philippe, for all the information of today. And right now, I will pass the word for the Dutch ambassador in Panama City, which is Mr. Sander Cohen. Yes, Mr. Sander, you can unmute your microphone and you can join us. Yes, perfect. All right, testing. Okay. So just check your microphone, maybe if it's working or not. But I will go for the next organization and then I will give you the chance to do a quick introduction. I will pass the word right now for Holland House, which is Miss Marlijn Blom.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is E𝘅𝗽𝗏 Blom. I'm the director of Holland House Panama. And I have a short presentation with an introduction of Holland House, what we do, and then I will dive into the upcoming trade mission. Yes, we can see the presentation. Perfect. Can you go to the next slide, Jenny? Thank you. So who are we? Holland House Panama is the Dutch bilateral chamber of commerce in Panama. We were established in 2019 as an initiative of the business community here in Panama, together with the embassy. We promote international trade and investment between the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Panama, and we do so by providing services to our members who are interested in doing business in Panama, or Panamanian companies that are interested in doing business in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. We currently have 43 members from the Netherlands, Aruba, Curacao. Amongst them are multinationals, but also smaller companies. And then we'll go to the next slide. Yes. Here you see an overview of our platinum members. I assume you recognize the logo of the Chamber of Commerce Curacao, a very important partner for us, also regarding the upcoming trade mission. And then the next slide is a overview of our other members, companies based in Panama, but also in the Netherlands, Curacao, Aruba, like I already mentioned. Yes, and then regarding our services, so we help businesses being successful in Panama in their endeavors by providing business intelligence services such as market scans, sector studies, but we also help with a soft landing. So that means that we help with context, but it can also be very practical matters like looking for an office in one of the free trade zones, for example. And then, like Jean-Philippe already mentioned, networking and contacts is key for being successful. So that's why we help with partner search. We can also set up individual matchmaking, and we also organize a lot of events to facilitate networking. Events such as the upcoming trade mission that we have the pleasure to organize together with the embassy. The first upcoming trade mission is the Maritime Logistics Trade Mission, which is not the focus of today, but I briefly wanted to mention it because I know some of the companies from Curacao already registered for this trade mission. It will take place from October 1 to October 3 here in Panama. And it's organized in the context of the Terminal Operators Conference, which is a regional maritime conference. So there will be representatives from Latin American port authorities, private terminals, but there will also be suppliers. And it's a regional conference, but we'll also, of course, zoom in to some mega projects announced by the new government, which are opportunities, of course, as well for the participating companies. So next slide. Yes, and then we go to the trade mission, the focus of today, the Dutch Caribbean meets Panama, taking place in December this year from the 2nd till the 5th. So we are inviting companies from the Dutch Caribbean, from the 6 islands, to visit Panama during this week. And if we go to the next slide, we'll go to the bit of more content. So it's a horizontal mission. We're not going to focus on one sector, but on several key sectors, like you can see on the slide. One of them being tourism. So the new government wants to promote a sustainable tourism in Panama. Also, of course, looking at a neighboring country, Costa Rica. That also entails some infrastructural projects and opportunities, such as the Corredor de las Playas, which is supposed to roads supposed to facilitate traffic to the beaches here internally in Panama. Digitalization, another sector providing opportunities. Panama recently opened its Center for Advanced Semiconductor Technologies and created incentives for companies active in assembly, packaging, testing, and distribution of semiconductors. Financial sector, also, of course, an important sector for Panama. There's already quite an active fintech industry here in Panama, but there are more opportunities, but also challenges such as financial inclusion. And then, of course, logistics and maritime. Mega projects have been announced, such as a train from Panama to 𝗣𝘅 to be built, the 4th bridge over the canal already on its way. And then we have a couple of metro lines, but the metro network will be expanded, and there's also plans to build a cableway in San Miguelito, and last but not least, the Curacao container terminal to be built on the Pacific side of the canal. So this is a very short overview with the key sectors and some opportunities related to those key sectors. Then looking at current trade between Panama and Curacao, mostly goods are being exported, such as petroleum, liquor, and cement and aluminium. As you can see, export from Panama to Curacao is quite limited. If you look at the total exports, so right now 3.8 million is being exported from Panama to Curacao, whereas the total of export is 6.62 billion worldwide. So that resembles a very small percentage. And the same goes from export from Curacao to Panama. Also, it's a very small percentage if looking at the total export. So that also implies some opportunities for improvement. And then we'll go to the last slide regarding the mission, which is the program. So what can you expect during the mission? Site visits to the Panama Tourism Authority, Panama Ports Company, meetings with the Authority of Innovation, Panama Pacifico, which is one of the free trade zones as mentioned by Jean-Philippe, the cruise terminal and/or Colón Free Trade Zone. It's and/or because we are also very much looking forward to receiving your input and suggestions, because of course the program will be tailor-made depending on the profile of the participating companies. We will also organize a seminar and organize individual matchmaking for one-on-one meetings and a lot more networking opportunities. Regarding the profile of the companies, we invite companies active in import, export, financial services, digitalization, maritime and logistics, and tourism to join and register for the trade mission. More information and the link to register will follow soon. And I think then I reached the last slide. So I'll give the word back to you, Kshanti. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline, for all the information about Holland House. And I will try again to pass the word for Mr. Sander Cohen. No, it's not working. Sure. All right. Unfortunately, the microphone is not working. So we will go for the next organization, and that is EBIS Management. And I will pass the word for Mr. Morales Isaias.
Yes, thank you. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. So, yes, thank you for passing the word. My name is Morales Isaias. I'm Senior VP of Business Development and Strategic Partnerships with e𝘅𝗽𝗵 Management Associates, company where I've been employed for the last 17 plus years. And yeah, I'm here to share a bit about tips for doing business in Panama. I believe basically it has all been said already in the presentations. I think Jean-Philippe did a very great job in giving the practical tips on doing business in Panama, which pretty much aligns with what I have to say, as well as Caroline as well. But in any case, as e𝘅𝗽𝗵 Management, a fintech company exporting services and software, so knowledge and services, let's say, into the region, and we had a quest of expanding in Latin America, and Panama has always been one of the focus markets. I think what I can share from our experience in Panama and in terms of tips for doing business are a few important requirements to note. Which are, for instance, quite in line with what we heard before. It's very important to build that trust, right? Build solid relationships. Because that's what they thrive on. It's not only Panama, it's very key to Latin America. But it's very important to have that. And to establish that is actually the face-to-face contact, which was also presented by Jean-Philippe. To bring in this through actually the networking activities, meetings, on-site meetings, and being there, right? The other part, I think, is to speak their language, and that's obviously Spanish, people will indicate that they speak English, and they will be very polite to say, oh no, it's okay if your presentation and everything is in English. But in the end, you will note pretty quickly that it doesn't really sink in, right? You see, if you switch to Spanish, you see directly like a difference in dynamic and in actually understanding what you're trying to present or what you're trying to offer. So it's very important to speak their language. The face-to-face contact extends basically also to local presence, having local presence, whether or not with physical local presence, as in having an office there, or having local representation. So local representation, Jean-Philippe also mentioned it already in terms of having a partner or partnership, or using a renowned organization like Holland House Panama and utilizing their services like we do ourselves as well. And the other part is having continuous follow-up. So that means in terms of building that trust and a solid relationship, it's very important that people keep hearing from you, they keep seeing you, they keep feeling basically your presence in the market, right? I think what I want to share on the level of lessons learned, one is consistency. Consistency, which also translates back to the presence. Consistency in the sense of that we started, let's say, attacking the Panama market, and then there was this financial crisis. We had to stop and retract, and then basically after everything reestablished and so on, we had to basically start from scratch. And we had to do that two times over, I think, 2 or 3 times over, because of not being able, for whatever reason, to show that consistency, to keep being there and being in the market. So that was a very a lesson learned, right? The investment that you do in terms of being there and having the local presence and trying to get food on the ground, right, in the market. It's very important to remain consistent so that you don't have to restart and redo everything from scratch. Another lesson learned is obviously, the representation, right? Having local presence or representation helps a lot, so that working with a local partner, as was already established, is very crucial. That also ties back to events. Both Carlijn as well as Jean-Philippe mentioned it. Events go over cold calling. Cold calling, you might get somewhere, but your succession rate of cold calling is very low. But events typically bring the contact and keep you, will open the door for you to establish that contact as well. And again, don't underestimate the part of being able to speak Spanish over English. Lastly, I think what helped us a lot, we are a Holland House member for quite some time now. We utilize the services, as you saw being presented just now by Carlijn. So we did some matchmaking sessions with Holland House in the past that were successful, for which we were able to get some good valuable appointments and get some audience and attention on the level that we needed. The networking events organized by the Holland House, being the Copa Naranja, helped us a lot, but also other type of networking where the Holland House plays a role, or was able for to be the bridge between us, inviting local, let's say, C-level execs on our behalf to the events, right? And those are, for instance, you could think of Holland House events, but also events that are organized or hosted by the Embassy of the Netherlands. They have also been very crucial in all of this. And all boils down to events. So the last event that we did with the Holland House was quite a success, where we did an event together, organized an event together That was in May lastly. And yeah, we're looking actually forward to doing much more in terms of the events, and that was one of the lessons learned, that events are over cold calling and over any other effort, right? If you're looking at basically return on investment and really getting in front of the right people. So I guess that's it from my part. I think I covered it completely. If not, if there are any questions, then I will see that in the chat or we'll hear.
Thank you, Mr. Morales, for sharing the best practices with us. Let me check if Mr. Sander is there. Yes.
I think the third time lucky.
Perfect.
I guess, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect.
Sorry for the hassle. I had to reinstall Zoom for some reason. So let me be brief. Thank you all for joining. I don't need to bid you welcome anymore because we've well advanced, and the speakers have been giving very interesting insights. So I'll keep it short, just to allow for enough time for questions and answer. Just to say that we are really pleased that we are organizing this trade mission in a co-production with the Holland House. I had the pleasure to visit Curacao together with the president of the Holland House, Mr. Bosman, the president of the board of the Holland House, I should say. And we had various meetings with ministers and organizations, and of course the Chamber of Commerce included, and individual companies. And yeah, we saw a lot of interesting links between Curacao and Panama. Panama is, of course, very near, as we've said. It's well connected. It is a regional hub and high-end market, so it has a lot to offer, but that has been pointed out already. So let me just again thank you all for joining, and we hope to see you in Panama, where it should be fun as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sander, for your information. And we will check right now. We are going for the Q&A section, for the question and answer section. I'm checking the question section, and there is no question yet. So feel free, you can still send your question to us. We have today Curacao Chamber. We also have the Embassy, we have Holland House, and we have EB's management. So if you have a question, maybe you can send it still in our Q&A section. All right. For Curacao Chamber, okay. Yes, you have a question for the chamber, you can send it. Okay. Will we receive the presentation afterwards? Yes, you will receive the presentation afterwards, and we will also publish it on our YouTube channel. So if you wanna listen again to all the information, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Curacao Chamber. So just search Curacao Chamber, and you will find all the recordings that we have of the Chamber of Commerce Curacao. Okay, so that's correct. You will get the presentation. Okay, still waiting. If you have more questions, feel free to send it in the Q&A section. So, some questions for Ms. Carlijn. How is the preparation going for the event? And maybe you have some registration already, so just tell us a little bit about the event.
Yes, so we're busy with the preparations of the trade mission in December. However, it's not live yet, so we do not have any registrations at this moment, because the event is not live. But we will share the information and the registration link with you via the chamber, of course, as soon as possible. For the other trade mission, the one in October, we do have registrations. Also, companies from Curacao will be joining us during the mission in October. So for October, yes, and for December, hopefully soon after sharing the information with you.
Okay, excellent. Yes, Mr. Stephen.
Yes, I had a small question for Jean-Philippe. In this presentation, he mentioned something about the inadequately educated workforce. And I was wondering if that has been specified to certain sectors, that is one. And if so, seeing the problem with regards to immigration, that they make it difficult for actual people to work externally. Is there an opportunity for companies that are small or SMEs that offer certain services to compensate that you think, hey, there's an opportunity for 𝗧cie companies in that direction?
Thank you for your question. And the restriction, it depends on certain sectors. Some of the ones that are related to trade sectors that work in trade, maritime, logistics, they manage to overcome it. It's mostly, say, for example, on medicine, that, for example, like doctors, they have to be Panamanians, university professor doctors have to be Panamanians. Sorry. And your question on SMEs and operating in Panama, I think that's a possibility because some Dutch companies that operate in Panama are SMEs, are not like the large multinational. They've been quite successful at it. One of them, for example, is E𝘅𝗽𝗺𝗵 that opened their offices in 2021. They've been doing pretty well in the local market. So like there's possibilities, and it's not like a sentence that makes business impossible. Like there's definitely ways to overcome it, and is even though the restriction exists, it's not something that is across the board.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jean-Philippe. And we are checking again for the Q&A section, question and answer section. We don't have any questions. So the last part will be, Ms. Caroline, maybe you can invite all the participants to join the event.
Yes, for sure. We're very much looking forward to receiving you in Panama in December. Like already mentioned, it's an excellent timing to join the mission since we have a new government in place here in Panama as of 1st of July. So there will be a lot of opportunities, new projects to be discussed and explored. And we're very much very happy to assist. So if you have any questions related to the mission or related to doing business in Panama, please feel free to reach out to us or to the embassy, and we're more than happy to help. So again, hope to see you soon or in December in Panama.
All right, thank you, Ms. Caroline. So right now I will give the last word. Thank you everybody who participated in our webinar of today. Remember to follow our Facebook page, which is Curacao Chamber, and also 𝗧𝗪𝗻𝗂 to get more information about the upcoming events and also the upcoming webinars. So thank you to everybody, and we will see you in the next event. Bye-bye.